Support for Destination Michigan is provided by the CMU Bookstore. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, maroon and gold memories, and an official outfitter of Adidas apparel at the Central Michigan University owned and operated CMU Bookstore. Online shopping 7 days a week at cmubookstore.com. On campus at the University Center, and game day locations at Kelly Short Stadium and the John G. Kohalvi Event Center.
Hello everyone, I'm Matthew Ozanek and welcome to Destination Michigan. We got a lot of ground to cover on today's episode as we're going to be heading from Traverse City to Ann Arbor and a few spots in between. You're not going to want to miss it, so let's take a sneak peek at what we have coming up for you today. Athletes from around the state head to the annual Alma Highland Festival to compete in a series of Scottish heavyweight games. Steve Smith takes us up to Leelanau and Grand Traverse counties to take a springtime stroll through clouds of cherry blossoms. Then we take a look at another springtime tradition and head into the woods in search of the elusive morel mushroom. Stephanie Mills heads to her hometown to meet some animals who are getting a second chance at life at Sasha Farm Animal Sanctuary in Manchester. And finally, we head to Ann Arbor to give you a tour of the most eco-friendly home on the planet. Our first story today has a little bit of everything. It's got history, culture, sports, music, and a lot of Scottish pride. We're heading to the central Michigan town of Alma to take a closer look at their Highland Festival and Games.
Some of us will get the chance and be lucky enough to travel to Scotland, and there are a lot of people who won't get the chance to do that. And this is really a great opportunity to get a little taste of Scotland without ever leaving Michigan.
The Alma Highland Festival has been a Memorial Day weekend tradition in the town since 1967. During the festival, the sound of bagpipes fill the air, families unite under their banners, and for a few days, everyone in attendance is free to embrace the Scottish spirit.
You can see pipers piping. Some of these pipe bands are going on to world championships, and you can see them right here. You can get a little taste of whether or not you're Scottish at our Clan Welcome Center, find out your own family history and heritage. There are so many different things you can do to explore Scottish culture.
As families take in the downtown parade and musicians practice for the day's performances, over on the field at the edge of the festival, a group of athletes prepare for competition. They're warming up for one of the festival's biggest draws, the Highland Games.
If you think of strongman competitions, this is like the Scottish version of that in some ways. It's something that is truly unique to the Scottish heritage.
As the story goes, the first Highland Games were started in the 11th century by King Malcolm III of Scotland as a competition to find the fastest runner in the land to become his royal messenger. But the modern version of the games were actually started by Queen Victoria and her husband Albert after the Highland clearances ended in the 19th century. After a quick warm-up, the athletes head into the day's events. First up, the open stone.
So the open stone is the predecessor to the shot put. So it's literally a stone. It'll be about 17 pounds, and you throw it just like a shot put. So you'll see everybody go through, and everybody gets 3 turns at throwing it.
After the open stone, it's on to the Scottish hammer.
Kind of like the Olympic hammer, except we're not whirling around, the weight is. And you're going to whirl it around, and you're going to throw it behind you for distance. You never see it release. It's all just a mystery until they measure it.
All of the events during the competition seem to follow a similar pattern. Pick up something heavy and throw it as far as you can. But as we found out, it takes a lot more than muscles to be a champion on this field. You're going to need a lot of practice, a lot of endurance, and even a little grace.
It's really amazing. You look and you see they have this grace about them, and they're twirling and then they're throwing this heavy object across the field.
Here you go, John. Sometimes you'll have an athlete that is outweighed by 50, 60 pounds, yet he's the winner because he's got the technique.
Stretching is very important. You'll see these guys stretching out at some point just to make sure they're nice and limber, because there is a bit of physicality to it, and it's not just muscle.
The final event of the day was definitely the crowd favorite and the most challenging for the competitors, the caber toss.
It's about an 18 to 19 foot log usually. We cradle it in our hands, have it lean on our shoulder, and you run with it, and then you try to flip it. And it's scored on a clock face as long as you get over the 90-degree point. So from 9 to 3, and you're hoping for a 12. So hopefully we'll see some 12s out here today from these guys.
Interested in becoming a Scottish heavyweight athlete? Well, you could start by truly getting in the spirit of the games and acquire your very own kilt. Because on this field, you're naked without one.
It is a little bit freer around the legs, which is nice, but there's no real athletic advantage necessarily. This is about our culture.
And Ryan tells us that there are actually Scottish athletic clubs popping up all across the state. So ask around in your hometown because you never know. Your opportunity to become a Scottish athletic champion may be a lot closer than you think. And for our next story, we're going to be tagging along with Steve Smith as he heads up to the Grand Traverse region.
That's right, Matt. For me, springtime in Michigan brings back memories of family trips up north in hopes of catching the cherry blossoms in full bloom. I had a chance to relive those memories this year. The view was spectacular, and I came back with a story of beauty, blossoms, bees, and business.
There are few things as beautiful as cherry blossom time in Michigan. Mother Nature puts on her prettiest gown for this rite of spring, and people flock from across the country to pay homage. It's also a way of life.
I'm a cherry farmer, been a cherry farmer all my life. We farm roughly 1,200 acres of cherries, sweets and tarts.
I was born and raised out on the old mission, and my great-grandfather McManus came there in 1864. And we didn't have cherry to start with anyway. Most people had cattle and raised crops and so on. Grandfather, he planted a block of cherries mainly because my grandmother insisted on it. He wasn't really all that excited about cherries, but my dad, he was strictly a cherry man. His whole life was built around the cherry business.
Cherry trees didn't exist in the Grand Traverse region until 1852. That's when missionary Peter Doherty planted the area's first block of cherries against the advice of local farmers. And oh, did his gamble pay off.
For tart cherries, we're #1, and so we always like to hang our hat on that. And we're #3 in sweet cherries, so we have about 7,500 acres of sweet cherries across the state, but most of those are also up in northwest Michigan.
The water, soil, and terrain make the Grand Traverse region ideal for cherry farming. Sen says, on average, it takes 60 days for the blossom to ripen into a cherry.
These are before the cherry opens into a full bloom, right here, these three. Then a little later, we get into a blossom. And if you can look real carefully, you see that little green tip there? That's a cherry.
We're in a good bloom. We're actually looking to a good pollination season. The bees have got a chance to work.
The bees come from a local guy here right in town, and he's been in this business for years, but we used to have a lot of local bees. We don't now. We depend on him to bring the bees in. And for sweet cherries, these are sweets, we need bees to pollinate, to cross-pollinate, so we grow a better crop. I've always been fascinated by that, how they just, how they can work and have to go to each and every one of these to pollinate these sweet cherries. It's pretty wild.
From pollination to production, technology revolutionized the industry.
Prior to the invention of the Dunkley pitter in 1917, they had to be pitted by hand, sort of one at a time. Now think about that's 100 years ago. They could get up to a ton an hour with those machines, so that made the industry commercially possible.
We used to have 100 hand pickers on our farm to pick these cherries. Now we have mechanically harvested. Okay, what they used to pick in a day, we can harvest in an hour. Who would think that you put 3 machines out in the field and you harvest 250,000 pounds in less than 8 hours?
The locals became impassioned, and word spread across the country about Northwest Michigan's bounty.
In the late 20s, growers were planting trees and the production in the area was increasing. And then that brought in the idea that we had to promote cherries and make sure people understood we were here, from all over the United States. Those days, the biggest use was in pies. And anyway, they made a pie and sent the to the president and got some national publicity out of that.
It's very, very beautiful, and the countryside is very beautiful. Like I say, it's brought a lot of money to the area. The Cherry Festival, a long time ago, I didn't think really I appreciated it that much. Learning as I go on how many people it brings to the area, how many people it introduces to cherries. And the cherry itself, I mean, there's 500,000 people come to Traverse City for that Cherry Festival. I mean, that's pretty cool just for the cherry.
It was in 1924 that they first celebrated the cherry crop with the blessing of the blossoms. That soon bloomed into the National Cherry Festival, which is held each year right around the 4th of July. Another sure sign of spring is the army of people in the woods searching for morels. My mushroom hunt this year took an unexpected twist, from springtime flora and fauna to farming in Scottville.
You're going to look for morels under certain trees. You have to know what an elm tree looks like. That's probably the best tree since the ash trees now are gone. Well, this is a nice little path here.
After a long winter, the chance to get out in the woods in the spring is a welcome change, and the chance of finding morel mushrooms adds to the fun.
It's the mushroom. People, it's just so nice to be outdoors and see everything start blooming. We're going from brown into green again, and it's nice to get outside and find those. You're lucky if you do.
It's really beautiful in the springtime, and I would do it because I want to go for a walk. But, you know, you got a little icing on the cake when you find a few morels.
Sister Copen says Michigan has more than 3,000 types of mushrooms. Anyone who's made a foray into the forest knows morels are one of the hardest species to spot. But if you want a surefire guarantee to find fungi, head on over to Scottville and Gourmet Mushrooms.
Right now, we grow at this particular facility 20,000 pounds of mushrooms a week. We grow 7 different varieties of mushrooms, experimentally grow morel mushrooms along with the other 7 varieties.
And yes, it seems to be a mushrooming business.
The worldwide demand is quite huge for specialty mushrooms. In the US, it's primarily the white button mushroom. And again, that's 800 million pounds that they're producing and selling. The specialty mushrooms are around 40 to 50 million pounds right now.
The Gourmet Mushroom Farm is a 200,000 square foot facility with 75 employees and rows of flavorful fungi.
Our material is sawdust, peat moss, soybean hulls, okara. Everything's grown on a basis of sawdust.
This is a jar that has already started growing for a few weeks, and it's starting to, the same threads of hyphae, the mycelia, grow down and utilize the nutrients of the substrate until finally, after a period of time, will completely colonize that total jar. Once it gets to this point, this jar can then be used to inoculate either bags that we do commercially and our trays of other jars. So as the bags are fed through the machine, they're opened automatically, the inoculum is dropped into it, and then it goes to the next stage, which seals the bag. They're put in an incubation room, and then after incubation, for periods anywhere from 7 to like 13 weeks, they're brought out into our fruiting rooms, and from that, then the mushrooms are started. And after a period of time, anywhere from as little as a week and a half to 3 weeks, the product is then harvested, packaged, and sold.
Gourmet Mushrooms got its start 41 years ago supplying specialty restaurants in the San Francisco Bay region. Today, a major growth area for the business is harnessing the mushroom's health benefits.
One example is for controlling cholesterol. Mushrooms, one of our edible mushrooms that we produce is a species of oyster mushroom, and they have a compound called mevinolin, which actually stops the first step in cholesterol synthesis. And that is what gave the precursor to statins.
In addition to pursuing a nutraceutical patent, Wells is experimenting with growing morels.
At Michigan State University, and I was one of the participants, we figured out how to grow morels on an indoor cultivation. So it's not strictly something you have to rely upon going out in the spring, although that's certainly a fun thing to do and you should do it. But season-wise, some seasons are good, some seasons are bad. After the season ends, then there are no more morels. So if you learned how to cultivate them indoors, that would be something that would be certainly a plus.
But Gary's right. It's hard to beat a spring stroll through the woods in hopes of finding your own secret spot where morels grow by the bushelful.
Well, it doesn't do any good to ask anybody, because the saying is, my father taught me, if I tell you where I hunt my morels, I would have to kill you. People are very secretive about where morels grow. Mushroom fever in my soul. Nobody knows.
And if you're gonna head out on your own mushroom hunt, be sure to take along a guidebook so that way you can verify that the mushrooms you're picking are safe to eat. And for our next story, we're tagging along with Stephanie Mills as she takes us to her hometown of Manchester to share the story of a really amazing place.
Matthew, it really is. Abused and abandoned animals like dogs and cats often end up in shelters where they find new homes with loving families. But other animals like livestock and birds, they have fewer options. But at Sasha Farm near Manchester, more than 200 animals have found their sanctuary and are living healthier and happier lives thanks to their owners, volunteers, and supporters.
When we moved here from the city, we had all this land. We didn't have any of these buildings. They weren't here. And people heard that we didn't eat animals, so we'd get a couple of turkeys every year. We'd get a lamb, and pretty soon, you know, I've got this growing family of animals to take care of. And my friend said, form a nonprofit, we'll donate. And I, really? You would? You know, good, I'll do that. And never dreamed it would turn into this. We're the biggest animal sanctuary in the Midwest now.
Sasha Farm has come a very long way since its beginnings back in 1984. And so too has its residents, who call this beautiful farm in the woods home.
We take animals from abuse and unwanted, abandoned. We work with local police departments. We do seizures. We have 5 cows at our other location down the road that were from a seizure. You might have read about it in the paper. We got the 5 survivors.
Owner and director Dorothy Davies has been hearing horror stories like this for years. Practically all the animals who live here bear scars of neglect and abuse. Some arrive practically seconds from death. One even gained his 15 minutes of fame on the news when he was corralled in a Burger King parking lot.
Well, you might have heard about Jefferson. He ran away from a slaughterhouse at Eastern Market in 2005. And that's why he's named Jefferson, because we named him after the road. And he got himself on television. So, and it was the end of the year, it was Christmas, people were in that spirit. So this is great outcry to save his life. We finally got him here. It was tough, but he's still here. He's getting up there.
Jefferson is among several livestock animals who live here, including pigs, goats, and sheep. They also have dogs, 6 breeds of birds, including emus and a peacock. All were left behind. Now they thrive here until their final days. But taking care of this crew is not easy or cheap.
We do use local vets. It depends on the animal, who we use. We also go to MSU quite a bit for the large animal care. Because we are lifetime care here, all the medical expenses that are involved, especially of end-of-life care, it can be pretty astounding. So we have to fundraise hard to pay for that.
This is probably the best way you can spend your time or your money. We can't save all the animals, but you can save a few of them and give them a wonderful life. It's fantastic what they do. It is a sanctuary for animals that often would have been destined, most of them, for slaughter. So it's a place where the animals can come and live out their lives in peace. So it just means a lot.
Dorothy credits supporters like Amy and their volunteers with helping being able to provide the best possible care for all the animals who come here. The farm is usually closed to the public, but they do hold public events a few times throughout the year to give families a chance to visit and get to know these loving and unique animals. I mean, how often do you get to take a selfie with a steer like this?
Sasha Farm also played a critical role in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. They rescued dozens of dogs and were even able to reunite some of them with their owners. To To learn more about their upcoming events and get to know some of the animals on their farm, visit their website.
And for our final story today, we're going to be heading down the road from Manchester to Ann Arbor to introduce you to a group of people who came together with one simple goal in mind: to create the most eco-friendly home on the planet. Were their efforts successful? Well, we're going to find out with a trip to Burbeck at Beacon Springs. When Tom and Marty Burbeck of Ann Arbor decided to build a new home for themselves, they wanted it to be something special, something unique, a home that would last for generations.
We were originally thinking of just building a cottage. Eventually that became, well, let's just build a house and move there. As we started walking the land, one of our first thoughts was, oh, farmland. Gosh, we could grow food for the hungry.
Healthy food.
Healthy, yes, yes.
We realized that there was so much that we could do in terms of expressing stewardship and the happiness that comes out of that and how to give.
Tom and Marty were on a mission, but they weren't going to be able to tackle this project alone. It was time to bring in the experts, starting with architect Michael Clement, who proposed something rather unusual.
They thought, well, if we're going to do something sustainable, why do it half-baked? Why do half measures? Let's really see what we can do here. I tossed out this idea that there was this new certification program called Living Building Challenge. And I said, we might want to take a look at that. When we first met with Tom and Marty, their goal wasn't to design the world's most green home. As it turns out, that's what we did. We have this interesting intertwinement of very traditional, very Tuscan-esque architectural aspects mixed in with literally state-of-the-art technology. So much of Living Building Challenge, such as the ventilation tower here, such as our passive solar, it's just working more in concert with nature.
Burbeck is only the second residential building in the world to receive Living Building status from the International Living Future Institute. But what constitutes a living building?
There's 7 petals as part of the Living Building certification program: site, water, energy, materials, health and happiness, equity and beauty. It's really broken out into specifics and very specific requirements, which all have to be fulfilled in order to achieve certification.
The requirements for certification made the already difficult task of building a home even harder.
Certifying organization has put together a list of 600 toxic chemicals. This house has none of those, and that process of finding tile floor, drywall, roofing, wood, every last piece had to be vetted against that list of 600 chemicals.
Some examples are halogenated flame retardants that are often used. PVC, so polyvinyl chloride, is not acceptable to be used in a living home. And then that way it allowed Michael to know what he was able to use in his design in order to be able to hand off a great set of documents.
Bob Burnside was tapped to be the builder of Burbeck at Beacon Springs. With over 20 years of building homes under his belt, this was anything but business as usual for Bob.
Well, it really starts with a basic structure, and you have to start from there, from the foundation up. As far as the overall structure, the roof in this case is 17 inches thick. That's very unusual. Even down to the way the windows were installed, or the tron walls, like this wall right back here, which is a solid concrete wall with a window on the outside of it to suck up energy from the outside during the winter to help warm the house. So it's totally unique from bottom to top.
But the home isn't the only unique aspect of Beacon Springs. Tom and Marty have also taken full advantage of the 15-acre farm by growing food using an ancient process known as permaculture.
It's a method of growing food that looks at creating an ecosystem that is self-sustaining. You create berms and swales down a hillsides, and you plant the plants on the berm so that when it rains, the water comes down the hillside and stops in the swale uphill from the berm. The idea is you never want water to run off your land. You want to keep it on your land and use it. At least it's soaking into the aquifer, into the groundwater.
Between the house, the farming, and all the cutting-edge technology, the team behind this beacon for sustainability have found themselves on the bleeding edge of something remarkable. A new way of looking at the dwellings we inhabit, not just for today, but for the future.
It's really not just for us, it's for many generations to come.
Yes, it's really true that had we built just the house for us, it would have been smaller. But then you say, we need to be building something that will last 200 years. We both, I'm sure, envision it being a great place for many people to live.
Yeah.
That's our hope, that whoever has the house after us and for generations
Can experience it that same way or in better ways.
Yeah.
Tom and Marty's home is so efficient that it actually creates more energy than is needed. And all of that unwanted electricity gets pumped back into the electrical grid. So at the end of every month, the power company actually owes them money. And with that, this episode of Destination Michigan comes to a close. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time. Now you can enjoy the Destination Michigan experience anytime, anywhere, online. Just go to pbs.org or download the PBS app to your smartphone or tablet. Search Destination Michigan and relive all of your favorite stories from our beloved Great Lakes state.